Hello and welcome to our little overview of Excel. Again, I'm just doing this little overview segment in case I have someone in the class who's new to Excel or hasn't used it for a while or is unfamiliar with it. And I just want to take you through a very basic budget building exercise. Generally, this is an exercise that everybody does when they're getting used to Excel. You may have done it already. If you haven't, it's also a great practical exercise because very often people just don't keep budgets and they always wonder why they're out of money at the end of the month. So with something like this, it gives you an opportunity to kind of play around a little bit, but it can have a very beneficial and practical use as well. We start off, as usual, in a blank workbook on sheet number 1 in a blank cell. I'm going to go and make sure I go over to cell B1. Now, I can either use my mouse to go from cell to cell, but honestly, one of the best things to use is if you look at your keyboard, usually in the lower right corner, there's going to be a set of 4 arrows, up, down, left, and right. If you've ever played video games on your PC, you've probably used these as motion controllers as well. But the general idea is if you use those 4 arrows, it's basically the same as using your enter key or your tab key or anything else to move around. So if you like using the mouse, go ahead. But honestly, I'll suggest get used to those arrow keys. Now, I'm sitting here in B1 right now. By the way, how do I know? Well, pretty simple. It says B1 right up here. Also, you'll notice that this outline is around B1 and that the letter B and the number 1 are a slightly different shade to indicate that that is the cell that's been chosen. I'm going to go ahead and type in January, and you'll notice that I am the world's lousiest typist. So I'm going to go back, make the change there, and thank goodness there are some things built into Excel that make my life a lot easier, because if I had to go in and spell every month properly, you would be aggravated at this point. Not that I'm a good not that I'm a bad speller, I'm just a lousy typist. Anyway, neither here nor there. You'll notice that the outline around January has this lovely little black square in the lower right corner. Generally, we call that it goes by the name fill handle or auto fill handle. If I take my white cross over that little black square, I get a black plus sign. I click and drag over the next 2 cells, and you'll see that it auto fills the next 2 months. Excel, of course, understands a whole variety of patterns. It's pre-programmed to know the months, the days. You can even program in, or you can teach it a sequence. So again, if I had a group of years, or even 8:30, 9:30, I could highlight those cells and teach Excel a pattern and build on that. And with the months, of course, I could have grabbed that fill handle and pulled across all the columns until I hit December, and if I kept on going, it would start in January once again. But I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm also going to come in here to E1. I'm going to pop in total. And honestly, if you're having trouble seeing this, I'm going to just tap my enter key a little bit. I'm going to come down here to the lower right corner, click the plus sign a couple times to zoom in, and maybe that'll make things easier for you to look at. Now I'm just going to go very simple with this budget. So what's the stuff I always need? I need food. I need clothes. I have to pay my mortgage. And what the heck, fun, because life's about more than just food, clothing, and mortgages. Of course, there's a lot more stuff I could put into this budget, but like I say, I'm keeping it short and sweet. Now, if I come along in here, I'm just going to throw in some random numbers. I'm just going to guess on these ones for now. So let's say 200 for January, 213 for February. We'll go 300 in March. Clothing, I'm a Value Village shopper, so we'll go $10. We'll go $50. And maybe I need a suit for a court appearance, so we'll say 400. Oh, not 4,000, 400. There we go. Mortgage. Mortgage is going to be the same no matter what happens. So we'll say 900 for the mortgage. Now I could go ahead and go to the next cell and type in 900 as well. But if the number's not going to change, I'm going to click on the number. And since the number doesn't change and it's a static number, again, I'll use the fill handle and pull across. Going across an extra 2 cells may not be that impressive, but again, if I'm stretching it out to the full 12 months, this is just a wee bit of a time saver. Now, fun is where I really get to find out what sort of people I'm dealing with. So, January, I'm keeping my money close because I spent too much on Christmas, so let's just say I spent 100. Maybe I spent a couple hundred in February, but forget it. In March, I'm taking a vacation. So let's go with 3,000 in March. Now at this point, you're going to see that I haven't put in the dollar signs or decimal points or anything of that nature. So we'll come back and we'll take care of that in a second move. Now it's fine to have a budget that captures my expenses, but perhaps I want to be able to interpret the impact of those expenses by figuring out how much money I have left at the end of the month. So it might be a good idea to include income as something in this table. And then after that, maybe I'll just say I'll have a row for the net or what is left over at the end of the month. And I should make it very clear, I'm an Excel instructor, not an accountant. So don't take any financial advice from me whatsoever. You just have to talk to my bank manager about that. They'll second that opinion. Okay. So when it comes to Excel, we've got 2 ways to work with numbers. We can work with formulae or functions. Now a formula is very step-by-step. A function is kind of compressed. It gives me the same result, but it takes some of the steps out. So the way I like to think of it is a formula is like a cake recipe. You go step by step by step to get the cake at the end. But a function is like a cake mix. You still get the same result at the end, but the number of steps have been compressed down for you. So let's start with working with a function. The function we'll use first is a sum function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click where I want the total to appear, and I'm going to come up over here and click on this weird little E called the sum tool. And if I give it a click, it reaches over and it shows me the function it's about to write. It says what's going to appear in cell E2, the cell beneath total, is going to be equivalent to the sum or equal to the sum of everything from B2 to D2, up to and including D2. So if I tap my enter key, in goes the number. So think back to our little friend here, this little fill handle. If I go and I click on that number, I grab the fill handle and I pull down, well, that goes ahead and it copies the function from cell to cell to cell, but it modifies the function. Because if I click here on 713, you see it says equals sum B2 colon D2. But if I click down here, it has changed it from B5 colon D5. So B5 all the way over to D5. Now I could do the same thing down here in the columns. I can click where I want this total to appear, click the sum tool, tap my enter key, and I've got the total. Now you might be saying, I don't know if I necessarily trust that. Well, try this out. Click in the middle of the first cell that's being added and go to the middle of the last cell being added. And you should find, if you look here and if you look down to the corner, you should see it says sum 1,210. Exactly what's over here. Same idea. I can highlight and drag across, and I should find that 713 is here and 713 is here as well. So it's a way to cross-check your totals. If I click on 1,210, I grab the fill handle and I pull across. That totals them up. And just like the rows here, every time I copy that function across, it changes to reflect the proper cells. And if I do click up here in the formula bar, it'll show you that you are working with those cells. The important thing is if you go ahead and you do that, tap your enter key to get out of there. Don't click to jump somewhere else, just tap your enter key. Because if I was to go and click on a separate cell somewhere, it would just go ahead and include that cell address into the function. You don't want that. Okay, time to put in our income. And let's just say, for instance, let's live large. Let's say we're making $3,000 a month. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to grab that fill handle there, pull across just to copy it. And then I'm going to click down here in the net area and I'm going to make a function. So how do I figure out how much I have left over at the end of the month? Pretty simple. I subtract my total expenses for the month from my income. You'll notice that the income is in cell B8. Again, I can click there and I'll see it's in there. And the total expenses are sitting there in B6. So I could go ahead and simply click down here and type in the formula. The formula, anytime I write a mathematical expression in Excel, if I do it by hand, it always has to start with an equal sign. So I pop in an equal sign, I type in B8, and you'll see that it highlights the cell. I put in a minus sign, and I want to take out the total expenses, which are sitting in B6. So type in B6, you'll see it lights up that cell as well. If I tap my enter key, then I have how much I have left over at the end of the month. If I click on that cell, grab the fill handle and pull across, you'll see that Excel also changes the formulae relative to the cells that it's closest to. And you'll also see that that vacation in March is going to cause us some problems because we have a negative value right there. So we're almost at the end of this segment. I'd hate to lose all this hard work that I've just done. So I'm going to go ahead and, although there is a multitude of ways to do it, I'm just going to do a quick file save. And I'm going to go and I'm going to put it in the folder I've been using for planning this class. Sorry folks, I have a lot of junk in here for sure. And let's see, there we go, 2020 SCE Spring Course. And I'm just going to put in my fantastic, budget. And I'll go ahead and save it. And the moment I save it, my fantastic budget is up there in the title bar. And we're off to a great start. Next up, we'll quickly come in here and we'll throw in some formatting and make it look lovely. And who knows, if we have time, we'll also throw in a chart. Come on back.